And so, uh, here I am. I just made a pledge to God that I was never going to do this again because I was getting so sick from all this junk of what they
Mm.
call healing, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And then got to work. They brought this lady to me, so I sit her down, and um, I put my hands on her head and started praying within myself for her to, feel better. And I was going to do it. I was going to help her feel better. And so I remembered that, oh my God, I just swore to God I was never going to do this stuff again. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm going to get this migraine. I can't handle this. And so then I thought to myself, well, wait a second now. If this is God doing it, then you do it, God. You get this migraine. So I kept envisioning and picturing God getting this massive migraine, and is like its head was going like this. And I kept picturing that, and I kept chanting inside myself, God, get this migraine. God, get this migraine. And I really meant it from all my heart. I didn't want this. And then my indicators were there, and I took my hands off, and she's smiling and she thanked me. And I said, oh my God, I don't have the migraine. This is the first time in 3 months' time of trying all this stuff out to see if it was real, and uh, and getting accolades for myself. And I didn't have it. And so ever since then, I never got it, and sickness from anyone, or any distress. I realized it wasn't me anymore, and I had to relinquish myself. I had to get to my lowest point in order to realize that and find that out. And since then, I've worked with maybe 25 to 35,000 people over the years, and nothing's happened with me because I'm immediately uh, trusting that the old man or old woman upstairs is going to get it. And not only are they going to get it, they're going to
Oh,
transform it into something else. So
wow.
I
That's
just, I had to do that.
Well,
And
I've never
I,
had that experience. Actually, after I, you know, do my thing, I actually feel better. I mean, we do these,
cool.
like chakra balancing, so we protect ourselves before we even go into to do the healing work. So I worked on a woman who, and I didn't realize it because she's on oncology, but how are you feeling? She said, I don't know if you realize this, but she said, my knee was killing me and now it doesn't hurt anymore. And I
Cool.
was having problems with my knee. And I left there and my knee was fine. I had no more pain in my knee. So I not only helped her, so I guess I look at it differently. I don't look at it
Yeah.
like I'm gonna give it to God. God, it's energy, it's coming through and it's all
Yeah.
good stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. I want to know what I can work with you with.
oh well, I
Tell me
want to
one thing,
know
hon.
if there are things that you don't work. I think there were things you don't work with. I'll explain. Right now I am I've kind of isolated myself. I'm almost like PTSD. I have and I'm working with my psychiatrist. We're trying to figure this whole thing out. I'm off of my antidepressants, but I'm anxious,
Good.
chronic fatigue, apathy, no energy, anxious, stressed all the time. I can't get out of this, what is it, the flight or fight thing,
Yeah.
to the point where, and because I had a, I was over at the hospital for a sleep apnea doctor to see if I really needed it. And I'm leaving the hospital, went off this, we didn't see a curb, went off the curb and shattered my kneecap. We
Oh,
sued the hospital and won because they knew what they had done was wrong. So I
okay.
shattered my kneecap, and then this
When
past year
was
I had my
this?
knee replaced, and I've had
When was that, Wendy?
that was in 2000. Let's see, 2019 or
Okay.
2019, and I I worked at Con Air and we all lost our jobs. So I had all this stuff on me. And I think it just got too much for my whole body to handle. And that's the shape I'm in right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let's see if we can, you know, uh, do something here. I'm
Okay.
curious. Um, have you been anxious all your life?
Um, I've always had like actually even when I was little, and I remember this, I've always had problems with my bowels or constipation, when I was a little girl. And I remember this because my mother told me I had to have a barium enema or whatever it is at the hospital. And the guy got so confused because they have to say, hold it, Joe, let it go, Joe, while they're actually doing this. And I started saying, hold it, Joe, let it go, Joe. And the guy was so confused, he wasn't sure. So my mother had to tell me to be quiet. So I've always had kind of, you know, and when I was young, I had asthma. I don't have it anymore. So I've always had autoimmune, arthritis now, all of that stuff that, yeah. So I've always been a nervous Nelly. I'm a worrywart. I know that. And I'm trying to
Okay,
be peaceful. I'm trying to say, up,
good.
stop it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. I used to be a worry wart too, and I got mine from listening to my when I was real little, all the way up to the age of 9. I would listen to my parents. I was downstairs in my bedroom, and
Mhm.
through the vents, I would hear my parents arguing
Yeah.
consistently all day long, every day almost.
Wow.
And that ended with me getting at the age of 9, I got a belly ache, and I was on the ground in a fetal position, holding my belly in pain.
Mhm.
And my mom came down, and she freaked out. She thought I was dying, so they rushed me to the hospital. And our family doctor met us there, and he says, "No, nothing's wrong with them." So, but I always, whenever I heard anyone arguing or being mad at another
Right.
person,
Yeah.
I would you
Yeah.
know, get it. And I would buckle up in a fetal position on the ground, no matter where I was or whatever. It was so severe until one day, I guess I was around 20 or 21, and I was in my order. And I remembered that. And I said, wow, when did this start?
Hmm.
And that I would hear someone arguing, I get a
Yeah.
bellyache, or someone mad at another person, I would get a bellyache, and I'd be
Mhm.
up on the ground. And so I remembered going into that fetal position when I was 9 years of age. And I said, oh, that's where it came from. I was listening to my parents argue. And
Mhm.
uh, so ever since I recognized that very first time, it
Yeah.
broke the back
It,
to the empowerment of that. And
You
ever
know,
since then,
I hear you because I think a lot of people's issues, they can trace it back to childhood
yes,
and even
and
before they have memories. Now, and another thing I
yes,
should say is that when I was 7, my father died. And my father owned a restaurant. So my father died when I was 7 years old. And my mother had to take over the restaurant. And when I came downstairs, I knew something was wrong because my father was, holding his chest, sitting on the stairs, and I'm back in
okay,
the house. And and then I heard the ambulance come, and I came downstairs, and I said to my mother, I said, "Where's Daddy?" He went to Florida, and I said, "He's dead, isn't he?" She says, "Yes, he is." So she couldn't even deal with it. So I
good,
actually went and had a soul retrieval and to
good,
try and find those pieces of me. And it was amazing because the shaman who did it said, I see a little girl, I see this little girl, and she's all hunched up in this little ball, and she's about
okay,
7 years old, and she's
yeah,
cold, and and just talk to her and let her know that she's okay. But it's still hard. And then my mother remarried, and the
okay,
guy was a jerk, and
all right.
apparently
So
anyway. So yeah,
yeah,
it all
all right,
happens. It does.
okay. So the idea is not only what for me, what I found out. The idea is not just to remember it, but to be objectively observant when you are remembering by looking at it objectively
Yes,
and observantly, not participating in the emotion.
right. No, thank you. No, I know. It's important. It's
Yes,
very important.
yeah. And so, all right. So, how old were you at that time, real briefly?
I was 7. And the thing
Okay.
is that no one told me is like, and then my mother got sick and was in the hospital, and it's like, oh
All
my God,
right.
who's going to take care of me? What's going to happen to me?
I
So I
understand.
was 7.
I understand. Okay. So, at the age of 7, when you heard your mother say that, how did you look and how did you feel in 2 words only? How did you look and how did you feel when your mother said that? What you can remember or imagine.
I looked upset,
Okay.
but
And how did you feel?
betrayed.
Betrayed or scared?
Well, scared too, but you said two
Would
words, that she couldn't tell me the truth. So yeah, I was
not trusting?
right.
All right. Now, if close your eyes for a second. I want to see something here, and we'll both
Let
do an
me take these
experiment.
glasses. I have these glasses on because I've
I
got
don't
some
care.
dark circles on them.
All right. So, what I'd like you to do, I want you to close your eyes
Hmm.
and try to picture yourself upset and betrayed. Picture yourself that. Can you see that in you when you were that little 7-year-old girl?
Yes, well, I can see it in all the
Okay,
relationships I've
so
had since then.
I'm not asking that.
No, I know, but
So, okay, so I want you to picture that.
mhm.
And that little girl, no emotion, no thinking, no analyzing, critiquing, judging, trying to figure it out, or anything else. And I want you to now picture if you weren't upset, what would that look like? 1 word or 2 words the most. If you weren't upset, what would that look like when you were 7 years old at that time? One word or 2 words. If you weren't
Just
upset,
empty.
okay. If you're empty, what would you feel like? In that particular situation, 1 or 2 words.
Now what?
What would you feel like?
It would be,
Now what?
so now what?
Okay, good. Now, if you weren't betrayed, what would that look like in 1 or 2 words? If you weren't betrayed,
Concern for my mother.
okay, good. And what would that feel like if you were concerned for your mother?
Yes.
What would that feel
Love
like
and
if you,
support.
there you go. All right, now, really quickly, open and close your eyes. All right. Look back at that little girl at the age of 7 in that particular situation. What does she look like and feel like now with being upset and empty and betrayed? What does she look like and feel like now in 1 or 2 words?
She looks frightened.
Okay, open up your eyes. Now, tell me something. If you can look back at the story you just told me, what is your opinion now of what that looks like or feels like? Just curious. How does she, how do you, how does that feel? How does that look now to you? I'm just curious.
Um, it's hard for me to let go of it. It
That's
really
okay.
is.
All right, that's fine.
But
Let's see what
I
happens
see what
now.
you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens because you saw something otherwise, a different wisdom. Let's see what happens with that now that you can identify, that you already did identify with.
And
Let's see if that
one more
doesn't
thing
change.
I want to say about it.
Sure.
I never got a chance to say goodbye to my father. In other words, I wasn't allowed to go to the mass. I wasn't allowed to go to the
Uh-huh.
funeral or anything like that.
Sure.
And anyway, but that's,
Uh,
and I guess that my mother just couldn't, she thought she was doing the right thing by me.
okay. So now the last thing I'd like to do with you, if you don't mind, is ask a blessing on you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
You got it, my dear friend.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste. Hey, Sam.
Hi, Mark.
Hi. Anything in particular you'd like me to work with?
Um, well, I know you usually say physical pain, but since there's two of us, can I talk about emotional pain?
Yes.
Well, I always have
Because
been
there's only 3 of us.
three of us. I meant like, two of us wanting healing.
Sure.
um, I guess I just feel like I could die from loneliness, and it just is very, very painful. Um, and I've tried to do things, like I joined this spiritual group, I'm in a poetry and writing group, I'm in
Cool.
this thing, I go to this event, but that is not something that takes loneliness away. Those are social events. It's not intimacy. It's not, none of that works, is what I'm saying, to relieve
Okay.
this feeling of loneliness. And
Sure.
I'm 60 years old. I've been alone for most of my life, and I never ever had felt lonely before. For 30 years that, I've been alone. But then, COVID kind of changed that a bit, and I felt lonely for the first time in my life. Um, like I said, before I was alone, but never lonely. And I think, like I said, COVID changed that, and then going through a little bit of depression changed that. And now I just can't seem to snap out of it. And it's not getting any better. If anything, it just seems to get worse, because then thinking about it, okay, it's been so long, I need to be over this, just makes it worse. If that makes any sense.
It does. All right. First of all, I believe, and I know this to be true too, you are an incredibly strong woman. And in that strength, you have the opportunity to persevere as you get out of the way of the emotional. A lot of the emotional that humankind experiences is like a social phony of identification. And we get in the way by, projecting and identifying with the rest of the world, expectations, etc. Not necessary, but that's what we choose to do. And we want to identify with other people. And, there are situations in which we think are great, but they're going through hell too, even the ones that say they're not lonely.
Mhm.
So another thing that I wanted to talk about, you have a path in your life, which is a deeply spiritual path that you came in to fulfill. And it's your path in life. And that's a lonely path. Doesn't mean that you have to be, but it's a lonely path. And which also incorporates with your ability to be a strong woman. If that makes sense so far.
I think so.
All right. Any questions about that so far? And then I'll go on.
Um, could you just say it again?
Oh boy.
Sorry.
I don't know if I can remember it.
Or just clarify a little bit. I'm not sure I understand.
All right. You're a strong woman. You came in
Mhm.
with that strength.
Okay.
You came into birth with that strength in you. And you're you were given that strength because a chunk of your life, I'm not saying all of it, a chunk of your life is going to be a lonely path
Mm.
because that's your because you have a path of spirituality within you that needs to be fulfilled. That's why your soul is presenting this to you in your life to be
Okay.
fulfilled. It's very important. You wouldn't have been given the strength that you have within yourself unless you could fulfill it. Otherwise, everything is just going to be identifications with other people on why you should be lonely. We're going to prove it because I don't have this, I don't have, feeling of that, whatever. Does that make sense, hon?
Yeah, I think so. I'm getting it.
You're going through also, and in your admitting it and your acknowledging of it inside yourself for however long you are now, that's because this is chaos. You can't have change until the chaos happens. You can't have chaos unless change happens. You have to have that, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So you're going through something, however long it lasts, and the sooner you recognize that it's actually chaos turning into change because of change happens, which initiates chaos. Until you recognize that, it's not going to be overcome. It's going to be nothing but identification in the world, with the world, and for the world. You're above that. You're beyond that. But you're finding that out. Does that make sense, hon?
Yeah, I think so.
And this is definitely a spiritual path that you ask for, and you need the loneliness in order to find yourself. There's no other rhyme or reason for it.
Okay.
In finding ourselves, what we're doing is learning how to enjoy ourselves to its fullest extent. There's no other form of spirituality or higher place than that. It's learning to love yourself and have yourself love you. Your place also encompasses teaching in what you do, whether it be through art or whatever. that's where you find a joy as well. Isn't that true?
Yes, it is. Today's the first day of school and I was dreading it. But when I see the kids, I had 23 kids and they were driving me crazy, but they were all just jumping on me, hugging on me. And
I know. Isn't that neat?
yes. Yeah.
So that's your calling. That's your calling. And as you get deeper into your calling, acknowledging it, that's how you get deep, through the acknowledgement of it and going full-hearted in. That's when a greater joy comes upon you and less loneliness. That's what you're here to find out.
Okay.
The true spirituality is the blending of earth and heaven. Does that make sense, hon?
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, that's the true spirituality.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, let me ask a blessing on you if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Great. You got it.
Thank
All
you.
right. You guys, anything else I can try to answer?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Regarding kind of what you were saying. So recently I heard someone say, and I never knew this to be true, that there can be a difference between your gift and your passion. I used to think they were the same thing. And when he said that, it resonated with me. It just made me open my eyes up to that's kind of how I was feeling. So when you brought up the teaching kids is a gift that God gave me. I'm very good at it. It comes naturally. It's effortless. I enjoy it, but I don't feel it's my passion. I'm doing it because I have to make a living.
Yeah, I understand. But you're reciprocal in getting the joy from that teaching, and the joy is your passion.
Okay.
And that's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
So everything blends. We live in a multifaceted consciousness of millions and millions of consciousnesses.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're learning to do is blend it all together. And we're always then, if we do one thing, we can find many verses in that pertaining to us. Everything feeds everything. Everything's synchronistic. Otherwise, we're separating things. And that's going to lead into a schizophrenic mind.
Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
And it has to do with what Samantha's going through, because I'm going through the same thing where I just feel very isolated. I'm older. I just turned 76. And so I'm starting to think, how many years do I have? I have to stop that. But one thing that I'm learning, and I've joined this Year of Miracles group, that you have to love yourself first. You have to, if you keep giving and you don't, you have to receive, and you have to be able to, and I'm starting to be able to do it. You have to be able to look yourself in the eye and say, I love you, unconditional love. And I'm starting to be able to actually look myself in the eye, and I hadn't been able to do it before. And it's not that easy, so you have to love yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And very true. And a way to do that is to recognize, remember, bring the members back, that here we say all the time that oh, I love God. We're talking to God is something out there.
Oh, he's in
Or
us. He's in
let me
us.
finish here.
Oops.
Let me finish. Or God is up on 3 blocks up to the north and 4 to the right. Or God is in everything. And we always say those things. God is in this insect. God is in this, lamp or whatever. But we're created in the image of God. And if that's true, if we're really created in the image of God, then we have the ability to recreate in that image. If we're created in that image, we have the ability to recreate in that image. And if that's true, we are therefore co-creators. So if you can look yourself in the mirror, literally in the mirror, and say, oh my God, I'm looking at God.
Mhm.
And how can't you love yourself if you're looking at God?
Well, that's an interesting way of looking at it too. Yeah. Thank you. I'll tell you though, I've done that, but when you
Okay.
can actually look yourself in the eye, it's different, but it's all part of the same thing that, I believe that God is in me. I mean, we are co-creators, and I also believe that when Christ healed people, he wanted other people to go out and do that. We are not,
You're still talking about God outside of yourself.
right.
It's recognizing that God is not on some cloud 3 blocks up and 4 to the north. It's recognizing that we live with God. And when we have a situation, predicament, or we feel awkward about something, we can say, hey, what you going to do about this? What you going to think about this? It's there.
Yeah.
He, she, it, whatever you call it.
Right.
It's there. And it's here. And it makes up the aliveness of our cells within us that make us up, the atoms within us, the blood, the movement of it, the breath. We breathe in the breath of God. It's written in the great book, God breathed through the nostrils of man and woman, gave him life. Well, if that's true, we're breathing in the breath of God. It's recognizing that, recognizing our thinking. And that's tough to do. It's tough. As simple as it is.
No, you're right. It is. I mean, I've changed, and there's so much anger out there. Someone cuts me off, and I get it's like, no. They needed to cut me off. Just pray for them and
Your anger.
let them do it.
Yeah.
And let it go.
And recognizing that it doesn't matter about them.
Right.
You were angry.
Right. So who is it affecting? Me. And that's why you got to let go of that.
You're affecting you.
Right.
Everyone's affecting everyone, And this is what we're born into to find out. All right.
Okay.
I
Thank
hope
you.
that, I hope
Thank you,
this
Mark.
means something.
Oh, that was so helpful. Thank you.
It was.
Good. Next week, I don't know what happened to all the regulars. Unless it was split up from the meetup to this.
Is it every Tuesday then, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm gonna write that down on my schedule. Because I feel like sometimes, you're traveling or you've got other things going on, and maybe you were just busy. That's why you didn't do anything over the summer.
Yeah. I just, a few months ago, I moved to Scottsdale, where I live now.
I remember we talked about that.
Yeah.
But then I didn't hear from you all summer, so I figured you were just busy with your move.
And I'm surprised you, not many people have gotten the newsletter for some reason.
Okay.
There must be different lists that they're not putting together.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mark.
And
Blessings. Keep me updated. If anyone ever wants to go to my website, markearlix.com, and there's a gifting tab at the bottom. Give from your heart.
Okay.
And if not, that's fine. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. If anyone wants an appointment with me, let me know. Go to the website. If anyone, whatever, wants to take an apprentice training with me or a class with me, let me know. They're only in person. And I'll say my adieus.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Blessings.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you again.
Peace, everyone.
Bye.
You too.